You ever seen that? Do as I say, not as I do. Anybody like a parent telling your kid some rule you have, something you want them to do, and then you go and do the same? Anybody have parents? Yeah. Come on, I bet every parent has to raise their hand on that one. But there's a word for that. And the word is hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. Anybody know that word probably? Oh, yeah. That word comes from Greek, ancient Greece, where they did theater. And it actually means to wear a mask. So an actor basically is hypocrisy. I look a certain way, I'm talking a certain way, I appear to be something on the outside, but on the inside, there's something different. Today we're talking about how to deal with difficult people in your life, especially if you're wanting to be a follower of Jesus. How does Jesus want me to deal with difficult people? And we talked about controlling people, critical people. Today we want to talk about hypocritical people. Hypocrisy. Look at what Jesus said in Matthew 23. He says, outwardly you look like righteous people, but inwardly your hearts are filled with hypocrisy and lawlessness. What does that look like in real life? What does that mean? How does the hypocrisy come across? Well, I got a couple of suggestions here. It could be a friend you have, maybe in a small group or group of friends, and who talks like they're a Christian, who says they follow Jesus, and they're fun to hang out with and watch games, and they'll even pray sometimes, but they're, in reality, they're cheating on their spouse. It could be that kid at school that says, oh yeah, I'm a Christian, and I go to church, and I do all these things, but they're constantly going out to parties on the weekend, and they cheat on their tests. It could be a boss who tells you how spiritual they are, how Christian they are, and yet they treat people horribly and have no integrity. It could be a friend who tells everyone I'm a Christian, but they're constantly gossiping and talking about other people. So what's the way to respond to this? Because in the Bible we see Jesus respond to this. And I'd like us to look at this today, and then we're going to end with a really important, I think, point about the whole thing. But how do we respond? First, we ask ourselves, why is somebody acting that way? Why? Why does someone put on a mask, says they're a Christian, but their life says something else? Why? Well, number one, maybe they don't really know God. They say they are a Christian, but maybe they're not. Maybe they don't really know God. Look what it says in 1 John 2. Whoever says, I know him, but does not, that's talking about God. Whoever says, I know him, but does not do what he commands is a liar. The truth is not in that person. They go to church and they look good and they've got the mask and everything and they say the right words and they wear the right clothes. But on the inside, maybe they don't even know God for real. Not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, is going to enter God's kingdom. Jesus said that. Even some people who did miracles in his name, some people who healed in his name, he's going to say, get away, I never knew you. In 1 Corinthians 3, Paul says, I could not address you as people who live by the Spirit, but as people who are still worldly, infants in Christ. Did you know that your spiritual life is just like your human, physical life? You start as an infant. You start as a baby. You can't crawl. You barely move. And then you become a toddler. And then you become school and high school. And as your life grows, you become more mature and able to do things. And the very same thing happens to you spiritually. When you first choose to follow Jesus, you're like an infant. And as you live life and as you try and you learn and you grow, you get stronger. Your faith grows. Yeah, you fall down and hurt yourself sometimes. And you learn things the hard way. But it's a process of getting older in your faith. Another option is maybe they don't know better yet. I just read 1 Corinthians, I could not talk to you as adults, but as children. Maybe they don't know better yet. Let me show you what I mean. I love hanging out with people who are not church people, or who didn't grow up like I did, and don't know the lingo, and don't know how to act, and all that stuff that goes with the church culture. Because it's very refreshing sometimes. I've had times after service here where I've had a guy come up to me and he said, blank, blank, pastor, that was the best blank and message, blank, blank. Now, if he had said that to my dad, my dad would have just thrown a fit. He would have been, get this guy out of here. You can't use that language in the Lord's house. But this guy talking to me, I happen to know where he's coming from. I know the life he's had. For him to even be here is a huge step. So I don't even want to hear, I don't care what the words are. I'm seeing this kid's heart saying, God is moving in my life. Now, do I expect him to act like an adult when he's an infant? No. Love you, man. I'm glad you're here. That language thing, I'm not going to bring it up because I know God will work in his life as he grows. Maybe they just don't know better. And the hypocrisy thing is just not intentional. Number 3, maybe they know better, but they still disobey. Yeah, God will let it slide. Yeah, I know it's not supposed to be, but, God knows me, and he'll let it go. 1 Peter 2, for you are free, yet you are God's slave, so don't use your freedom as an excuse to do evil. It's very easy to rationalize. Well, I'm free, I'm not living by the law. I'm living under grace. I get to do what I want because God will forgive me. And we just throw away his grace. We mock it. You see this in someone who says, oh, I'm not materialistic. I'm not greedy. I don't have to have things. But then their life says they do. Every choice, everything they do is always money and stuff. Well, I don't have a problem with gambling. God will let it slide this one time. It's okay. For certain individuals, Jude 1, pervert the grace of our God into a license for immorality. A license for immorality. I can do what I feel like, and God will get over it. And deny Jesus Christ, our only sovereign and Lord. We do have freedom. God has given us freedom. But we need to be slaves to him as well. And so don't let that thinking pervert your life. It's okay to give up your freedoms when you need to. I just found out this morning that our dear friends in Honduras are really having a tough time. The Honduran government right now is severely at war with itself in a sense. Their army is on the street right now. And it's very dangerous to be in that country. In the midst of that, I'm looking at pictures from Pastor Carlos, who is still pulling kids out of the dump and feeding them, and he's got doctors who volunteer to look at them. Still, last week, they're still doing this. I'm just so excited to see that. When I was in the Dominican Republic a few years ago, I went with a medical team, and I was just there to be in the way, but I brought a speaker with me because we went 8 hours out into the sugarcane fields. There's no electricity and no plumbing, and we're out in a little village to look at all the people and to share Jesus with them, and then the doctors to take care of them for free. And my job was walking around and just hanging out with people, and I had a speaker about that big that had a little sound system in the back of it. It was all battery operated. And I set it up kind of in the village, where we could play musica for the village. And I had this music from a Dominican pop star that came to Jesus and changed all his music. And so now he's a Dominican pop singer. Everybody knows it. But his music now celebrates Jesus. So I was playing that music, trying to get it out into the sugarcane fields where the people would come and see the doctor and hear the gospel. And I'm thinking, that's good. The music's thumping. Dominicans are mostly Africans, actually, brought over as slaves, and then they mixed with Hispanics. And so you've got black, African rhythms with Hispanic rhythms, and it's cool music. And so I'm thumping this thing, people hear it, play it as loud as I could so it'd go way out in that field. And because it's the heart of the music, I know the message is right. And I know the rhythm's going to catch people. So, let's do it. And this guy on our team, who was actually a Dominican man and a very devout believer, came over and pulled me aside. And said, no musica. You can't play that music. And I said, well, how come? This is great, I'm free to play music. He's worshiping Jesus. What's the problem? He said, that's the same rhythms and stuff that these people associate with the shaman and with witchcraft. And you're playing witchcraft music. They don't even hear the words. The music is telling them that we're something that we're not. Now, in Christ, I have freedom. Absolutely. There's nothing evil about a drum. But because of my brother and because of the situation, I want the message of Jesus heard. Nothing else. So we can turn it off. We'll find something that he has that works better. It may be that we need to be understanding with someone that looks like they're acting in hypocrisy. Jesus, Peter, Paul, they all confronted hypocrisy. What should we do? If we see something and we say, oh boy, that's wrong. That person claims to follow Jesus, but look what they're doing and how they're living. Do we say something? Do we confront it? What do we do? A lot of people would be bothered. Oh, no, don't get in my face. Leave me alone. And Jesus and Peter and Paul all responded to this. So let's look at what they did to help us learn what we should do. Number one, they prayed this kind of thought. They had this thought in their mind. God, help me confront with the goal of restoration. Galatians 6:1. Brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person with a loud voice and a big hammer. By going on Twitter and announcing, Facebook, I saw this. This person's really not what they say. No. Restore that person gently. Gently. It's really anti-normal because we want to correct it. We see that and we want to judge it. We want to say, you're wrong. You're a sinner. But that's not how Paul says we should approach it. He says, see yourself as the guide. My goal is not to be right. My goal is to help someone else be right with God. Restoration. My heart is love, not mean, not pride. That's the one that's easy to do. Oh, I'm so much better than you are, so I'm going to fix you. I'm going to tell you what you're doing wrong. That's the opposite. He says, approach them in humility and gently and say, man, you have inspired people with your faith. Can you please come back to it? What would it take? How can I help you live in faith? Number 2, God, help me confront them carefully. The rest of that verse in verse 6:1. If someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently, but watch yourself or you also may be tempted. And I think the temptation there is to be proud. To think, I'm so holy, I'm so right, and you're so wrong, and I'm telling you, and I'm making it right, so aren't I great? Now, apparently, you're the judge instead of God. 1 Corinthians 10, so if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. I blew it yesterday. I was a hypocrite yesterday. It was embarrassing. It never happens, of course. I have been saying for weeks that I want Resonate to show the love of God to our town. So one of the ways we're going to do that is make the bathroom available. Give away free water. Make the changing table available. We want to show love to Halloween Town. In the midst of that, Halloween Town has new rules and tough rules that, like many of you, probably had to walk more than a block to get in here today because of the closed streets. I've been begging and pleading and knocking on doors to get that changed, and it's not changing. Yesterday, at about 1 o'clock, I got a phone call from Margaret and our team that was down here doing the thing. I was planning to be here at 5 to jump in. And at 1 o'clock, our both bathroom systems had blocked up completely within a few minutes of each other, which was interesting. And we ended up having to close the bathrooms. Right now, both bathroom systems are down next door. We're going to have to get a snake in here tomorrow, and it's going to be a rough job. The battle has been coming at me, and I'm feeling the frustration. So yesterday, as I'm driving around dealing with blocked up sewage, that I can't rent equipment and bring it down because I can't park down here and bring equipment. I got stopped by an individual on the street who did not want me to even drive down that road. And I was frustrated. So I've acted differently than what I have said. I have said show love. I was not feeling love. Sir, you can't drive through here. Well, wait, I'm trying to go to work. I thought, I'll use that angle. Maybe that'll help. No. So then I thought, well, I know a lawyer. Should I go call a lawyer? I mean, it's what a stupid thing to say. I completely put on a mask. Because in my heart, I want us to show the love of Jesus. But boy, that's not easy. How about you? Let me talk to you for a minute, Christians. First of all, we are very easily drawn into this thought of telling other people that they should be and live the way we do. You know, the number one complaint among the non-Christian world is hypocrisy in church. They see us as hypocrites because they see how we live and then they hear what we say. Our job is not to make Christian standards fit non-Christian people. If somebody tells me, I don't want to follow Jesus, no, I'm not part of that, then why in the world would I confront them if they're not living like Jesus? They're not trying to. There's no need to confront that. There's no reason to. It's only the person who says, oh, I want to follow Jesus and I want to live up to what he's asked. That's the one that I want to say, brother, please, let me help you. You're going down a path that's going to destroy your faith. It's going to destroy the name of God. Please, brother, come back. Number 3 in the steps we can take to deal with a hypocrite. And this is the most important one. Listen to this. God, help me see when I'm the hypocrite. None of us want to look in the mirror. None of us want to see, really, when we fail. And yesterday, as I drove away from my little conversation with that person, I felt very badly because I realized The things I'm doing now don't match the things I have said I believe. And that's, God, forgive me. God, I don't want to be the hypocrite. But sometimes it's hard to see ourselves. You guys heard of King David and Bathsheba? Anybody heard of that story? King David and Bathsheba? It's in the Bible. King David sends the army off to war, but he doesn't go with them. He's supposed to go with them. He doesn't. He stays back in the castle and he binges on Netflix. He's just sitting around, wasting his time. And as he's waiting in the castle, he's looking out the window one night, and there's this pretty girl next door, and he sees her out on the deck, and so he sends his guys over, go get her and bring her over here. And he sleeps with this girl and sends her home and finds out she's married, and that her husband is with the army fighting. So to cover his tracks, because now she's pregnant, he sends word, put that husband on the front line and get him killed. And then he can bring her in, she can be another one of his many wives. Not long after that, the prophet Nathan came in to talk to David. And he said, David, I got to tell you a story. He said, there's these two guys that have sheep. One guy has a whole lot of sheep. The other guy has one sheep. He said, the guy with a whole lot of sheep liked the one sheep over here, so he took that one and killed that farmer. The Bible says David listened to that story, and then he responded. Let's read his reaction, 2 Samuel 12:5. David burned with anger against the man and said to Nathan the prophet, as surely as the Lord lives, the man who did this must die. He must pay for that lamb 4 times over, because he did such a thing and had no pity. And then the prophet turns to David and says, that was you. That was you. When you took Bathsheba, when you sent her husband to die, that was you. In just this moment, do you have a that was you in your life? That you just can't see, or that you just refuse to see, or that it's just not been clear, and then you needed somebody, you needed something to say, wait a second, you claim this, you say this, but it's just a mask. And I'm talking to Christians. If you're not a Christian, I don't hold you to this stuff. I mean, I love you, I'm glad you're here, but I'm not going to hold you to this stuff. It's for us who said, yes, we want to follow Jesus, to stop and look in the mirror for just a minute and be honest. David wrote a psalm after a while, maybe over this very situation, and he says, create in me a pure heart, O God. Renew a steadfast spirit within me. Don't cast me away from your presence, or take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation. David wanted to be made right with God. And in his incredibleness, God welcomes us home. Do you need to be made right? Let's pray. God, you know every person in this room, and you know our heart and our life and our stuff and any hypocrisy. Let's be different this week, God, by your grace.